Welcome to Shardcast, the Brandon Sanderson podcast. We're a bunch of mega fans bringing you the news, discussion, and of course, a whole lot of opinions about Brandon's works and the Cosmere. I'm Ian, and joining me is Evgeni.
Hi, I said I wasn't going to ruin the intro, which I didn't, but I was...
You can ruin it now. That's fine. I got to the hard work.
No, you've done your bit. So, like, what I'm trying to say is, all my mental energy was focused on not distracting you so you can go through your opening bit. But that means that I spared no mental energy for whatever nonsense I was going to do when it became my turn. And so now I don't have like a bit to do, which means I'm just saying words and stalling until I come up with a bit. I don't have a bit. Hi, I am Argent, and I have news, opinions, and discussions.
Also joining me is Matt.
Hey, it's Matt, Comatose online, and I'm excited to talk. And I'm on a Shardcast again. It's been like
Shardcast.
Maybe over a year. I don't know when the last one I was on was published, so it's been a while.
And lastly, we have Adim.
Hey, I'm X, and I'm similarly bitless.
Oh no, our bits! If we were on Twitch, we could have asked for bits.
Yeah. And I am Weiry Writer. And this week we are discussing the Cosmere role-playing game.
And the Copper Mind!
No, we're not.
And my salmon sweater.
Yeah, salmon!
So a few disclaimers ahead of time. We're mostly going to be discussing the Handbook and the World Guide today. Spoilers from those are now fair game for the podcast. Like, if stuff is relevant on future episodes, we're going to be bringing it up.
I want to, actually, before we continue, because I don't want to assume that everyone listening to this is going to be familiar with, like, the structure of the Cosmere RPG. And so, like, saying Handbook and World Guide, it doesn't necessarily, like, inform everyone. So what I want to say is, so, hi, hello, there's now a Cosmere RPG, tabletop RPG. Think Dungeons and Dragons, but it's not Dungeons and Dragons, right? There's only one setting for it right now. It is the Stormlight setting. There will be others in the future. Mistborn is in the works. There have been anywhere between hints and teases to promises for things like Nalthis, Elantris, World Hopper settings. The Stormlight setting is 2 books. It is a handbook, which is your how to play the game. Like, it's your mechanics, it's how to resolve encounters and challenges and combats and do tests and make your characters and stuff like that. It also has adversaries at the end. And then it does not. It does not have adversaries in the end.
Yeah.
And then you have, it has like a few. And then you have the World Guide, which is a mixture between a lore Bible and an art book and an adversary appendix. And so that's going to be here's what the world is like. In addition, so that's what we're going to be focusing on in this episode. We're going to talk about the handbook, which there's not much lore in, but there is a little bit because you're able to play radiant characters, and those have ideals, and those have like abilities and talents and stuff like that. But we're mostly going to be focusing on the World Guide, where there's a lot of, not a lot, but there's like some new lore, and there's a bunch of new art. So that's that. Notably, what we are not going to talk about is the campaign for the Stormlight setting, which is the Dragonsteel approved / developed in collaboration with Stonewalkers adventure, which, among other things, tackles the mystery of Tone's missing honor blade. So that's going to be off limits. There's a few other like small adventures that we might mention, but we're also probably not going to talk about because they are not full of like. This is not what the show is about. I wanted to upload this information into your brains, and now back to Ian.
Yeah, and for context, Stonewalkers as an adventure, if you're consuming it in the manner it is designed to be consumed, which is playing through it, it's gonna take a while. So we're just trying to preserve those people who want to play the adventures experience. It's why Stonewalkers is under spoiler tags on the Discord and forums for at least a year. But we will be doing an episode as a deep dive, like talking about the lore and story reveals of Stonewalkers at some future point, but that will not be this episode. Another disclaimer, Evgeni and I, our names are in this book as these things called world singers. We did kind of like consult on some things for them. So we have privileged insight behind the scenes, and we're somewhat involved with the creation of these books. Also,
a lot of that insight, by the way, was seeing how cool all the people who work on this thing are, and how much work they put into it, and how much they care about it. So don't tell anyone about that. That's just between us and you guys. That's our little secret, okay? But otherwise, cool people.
Keep your parasocial.
Yeah.
Also, one of our esteemed panel members, Matt, is a writer for the Mistborn campaign setting.
Woo! Yeah. But I didn't work on this at all, so this I'm just appreciating as a fan. But
like that's all
not
to say,
unbiased.
Yes, like the opinions that are about to follow are genuine. They are our honest opinions. We cannot claim they are unbiased, which is why we've dragged Adim off the street to provide the unbiased opinion, so we can at least claim some media integrity.
Yeah, I think the closest I've been to the development of this was, I think I was like 20 feet away from Johnny Brotherwise at some point when he was standing at a booth or something.
20 feet, not that many feet.
Last disclaimer, and it's just to head off comments, because as the 17th Shard, we do have an actual play series. Are we planning to do a Cosmere RPG series? Eventually. We are all volunteers. And that takes a lot of time and effort, and we're still trying to get through season 2 of our Mistborn adventure game series. So yes, at some point we would like to. There are no current plans for that.
Yeah, I think the main thing is we've learned actual play. It's not just filming and scheduling. The editing load is a lot higher than your standard Shardcast. So we're not able to pump them out at the same rate.
Well, I think we've also just we are juggling a lot, and we keep adding more, which is unwise of us. And so we are at the stage of our collective character arc in which we are learning some hard lessons, and we'll come out on the other end as like harmonious and balanced individuals who know how to do adult things. No, I shouldn't say do adult things. Who know how to live their best lives, but we're not there yet.
In the past, there was some sowing, and now there is some reaping going on.
Yeah. It's that, you expand, and then you're like, oh, maybe we expanded too much. Let's just tighten up a little bit, make sure this is sustainable. Sustainable growth. That's what we're all about.
Coming to the 17th Shard near you in the year 2026. Layoffs. A little
restructure, please.
Unfortunate reorg.
So let's begin our discussion with a little talk about the system itself.
Cool. So let's talk about the system. This is a D20 based system, but it's not. So if you're coming out of like Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder or something like that, this would not be exactly that, but you would be familiar with a lot of what is going on here. This is a system that Brotherwise is developing that they're calling Plot Weaver. This is not like, we're not going to do like a full overview, but some of the highlights of this system are going to include the following. So the thing that you will probably have seen or heard about is the plot die. But before I talk about the plot die, get this plot die out of here.
Okay.
So this is a D20 based system. Is in this case a system where a lot of the tests and checks and things like that are resolved by rolling a 20-sided die, a D20, and you add some modifier on your character sheet, like agility or deception or something like that. And if the total number meets or exceeds target difficulty or the opponent's kind of defense, then you succeed. Now, so you're going to be rolling a lot of D20s, and in the process of rolling those D20s, as well as in some other scenarios, a plot die might get involved. Now, that looks like a regular old D6. In fact, if you don't have like a custom-made plot die that you've purchased, you can just use a D6 and you can designate the sides accordingly. The idea of the plot die is that during moments of like high stakes or high tension, either the game master or the players can choose to what the game calls raise the stakes. The recommendation is use this roughly on a third of your rolls, but every table is going to be different. And so the plot die allows you to not just succeed or fail, but succeed or fail plus. And that plus is with an opportunity or with a complication. So what that looks like is opportunities are when good things happen, regardless of whether you succeed or not, and not necessarily related to the thing that you were doing. So in other words, you can be rolling to like disarm an opponent, and something unrelated to the disarm action can be beneficial to you. That's an opportunity. A complication is the opposite of that. It is something bad happening that is not necessarily related to the thing that you were trying to accomplish. So the way all of that ties together is you roll your D20, you do your check. If the stakes are raised, you also roll the D6. The D6 has 3-ish possible outcomes. 2 of the sides are blank, which means nothing happens. The plot resolves normally. 2 of the sides are opportunities, and 2 of the sides are complications. Now, the complications also come with bonuses to your roll, either +2 or +4. Practically speaking, what that means is that if you've raised the stakes and if you're rolling the plot die and you roll a complication, you are more likely to succeed on the thing that you were trying to do instead of like outright failing. But there is that little twist of, okay, but something bad happens. So practically speaking, what that means is, let's say you are trying to disarm an enemy. And so your options are succeed with complication or succeed with opportunity, or fail with complication or fail with opportunity. So what does that mean? Let's say you succeed. So opponent is disarmed either way. If you roll an opportunity on your plot die, something additional and beneficial to you happens. Maybe in the act of disarming this opponent, you also destroy their weapon. So not only are they disarmed, they also cannot rearm themselves. Alternatively, you still succeed, but you roll a complication. With the caveat, because complications come with a +2 and a +4, by virtue of rolling a complication, that makes it more likely that you will actually like go back to the success category. But we are already in success, so that doesn't matter. So you've succeeded in disarming the opponent. You've rolled a complication. Maybe you disarm them. Great, you succeeded in the thing that you wanted to do, but you accidentally kick the weapon off to another opponent who can now make use of it or whatever. Or you succeed in disarming them, but you trip in the process and you fall prone to the ground. So that's how success and opportunity/complication play together. Failure and opportunity complication play out very similarly. Like you try to disarm an opponent, you fail, you roll an opportunity. Well, you didn't disarm the opponent, but you tripped them or you tripped some other opponent, right? Something beneficial happened to you. And of course, the worst possible outcome is you fail and you roll a complication, in which case you fail to do you fail to disarm the opponent, and something bad happens to you. Maybe you disarm yourself, you drop your weapon, right?
There are these like narrative benefits and consequences. Like there are more mechanical things you can do. Like there are some abilities that trigger based off of you getting an opportunity. Like if you're rolling an attack and you roll an opportunity, like you can spend that to get a critical hit, or you can just like, if you get an opportunity, like you can say one of your companions like gets advantage on their next roll. So like because this is something I struggle with, like coming up with these more improv-y narrative consequences on the spot. So like having the more mechanical defaults, so to speak. And there's for adversaries, like some of them do give like suggested like opportunity and complication effects. So they don't just like say like, here, figure it out. Like they do give you tools to learn as you go.
And not only do they give you tools, but like the entire plot weaver system is deeply integrated with like the opportunity and like with the plot, with these mechanics, right? It is not just a one-time gimmick. So that's a big like selling point, but not necessarily selling point. Like that's a big feature of the plot weaver system. But there are other things that you might find yourselves unfamiliar with if you're dealing with this system. And some of those things include the action economy. So unlike and I'll be bringing up Dungeons and Dragons because that's the one system that I'm familiar with.
The main, D&D 5th edition is the elephant in the room. It's the big guy. Like if you're playing TTRPGs, you've probably played D&D,
or at least you know about D&D.
Yes, and like I do think it's useful to have D&D as a touch point because like there are the similarities, while there are also these very interesting distinctions from it. And it just reminds me of Brandon's writing advice of like the strange attractor of like, hey, if you're writing a thing, like you want something that the reader is very familiar with and then something weird, and you stick them together and it works really well. It's like the attractor is the familiar thing. It's the similarities to D&D. It's like rolling a d20, rolling a modifier. There's 6 stats. You have skills. And then the strangeness is the plot die. And it's like, it's the paths. It's the action economy.
Yes. Excellent. Speaking of the action economy, in D&D, it's a lot like a skill check where you roll a die, you have a modifier, and that determines the relative order of when
rolling initiative.
Yeah. In here, in Plot Weaver, or at least in the Cosmere RPG, I don't know how much of what I'm talking about is going to be unique to the Cosmere RPG and how much of it is going to be, if they ever extract Plot Weaver into its own thing, how much of that is going to be there.
Which they are in the process of doing.
Yes, excellent. Okay. But the way action economy works here is, so each turn has a fast phase and a slow phase. Players get to choose whether they take a fast turn or a slow turn. NPCs also get to choose whether they take a fast turn or a slow turn. Players in like their half of the turn always go before NPCs. So fast players go before fast NPCs, slow players go before slow NPCs. Obviously, anyone who is fast player or NPC is going to go before anyone who is slow player or NPC. And as you might imagine, taking a slow turn has the downside of, well, you're going, later in the turn order, but you get to have an extra action that you can, you just have an extra action to do things. And you can do things like, move, attack, use abilities, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
There are also...
fast turns, you get 2 actions. Slow turns, you get 3. And there are some actions you can get access to that require 3 actions to activate.
There's also reactions. They are not terribly unique. They're just like ways for you to act kind of outside of your turn. We don't need to talk about them here.
And one thing I like, if I can,
absolutely,
including move as an action, I think is a cool choice rather than having like in D&D you have your action, your bonus action, your movement as like separate things. But if you don't want to do 2 of those things, it's not like you can switch an action for a movement or, you know.
I mean, you can like do like a sprint action but like it gets weird in D&D. Yes.
Yeah. But if like, you're not moving, like you can't. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas this, it's like, oh, I'm just going to stand still, but I'm going to still have a big turn. Like I really like the flexibility of how the actions work in fast and slow turns. And honestly, like as a game master GM, I kind of like the blocking. Like, okay, fast turn for PCs, fast turn for me, slow turn for PCs, slow turn for me. It's like simple, and also it lets me, like, you know, you might say, oh, but then the PCs always get to go first, often, unless they all take a slow turn. I like that because then I can kind of shape my plan based on how they're going anyway, right? So,
and not only can you do that, but like these games are for the players, and so giving like a little preferential treatment to the players is fine.
Yeah, there's lots in the GM's toolbox to even the playing field. So, giving that little advantage isn't too bad.
And like within like fast, if multiple players like choose a fast turn or choose a slow turn, like they get to decide what order they go to, and it's like they're not beholden to that order on future rounds, which is nice. It gives you that little bit more flexibility of like, oh, I have an idea, I should go this, so I can set up for the next person.
And it's more interactive as a team and as a party too because of that. Like so there's less of that problem of, okay, I take my 1.5 minute turn, I put myself on mute if you're playing online, and then like sit and watch things happen for an hour, or however long the combat is taking.
I mean, roughly right.
Yeah. And it gives you that little bit more agency on deciding when to act. Unlike in like D&D, if you roll poorly on your initiative check and you're going last, sometimes you don't do anything the whole combat because other people get to the things first. And then you just die at the end.
That's one of the things that has always been frustrating to me when playing D&D. It's like the inability to benignly manipulate the initiative order, right? I rolled a 17, the person next to me rolled a 16. That doesn't matter. All that matters is that I'm going before them, and there's no way for me to just like for my character to take a third of a second pause and let someone else go first, unless I like choose to fully drop like to the bottom of like. In fact, can you even drop to the bottom of the initiative?
There are like rules, like you can like delay your initiative count. But then, like, it stays there.
But it's permanent, right? Yeah.
But it's permanent.
And
it's like you can hold your action, but like that's limit.
You
like
lose
that's like
so much.
You lose so much.
Yeah.
So I do like this action economy a lot, actually.
Yeah. And fun fact, because they talked about this, like part of the reason they went this direction was thinking ahead to sell when they're doing Aeon Door. Because one of the ideas they had for Aeon Door is like different Aeons taking different numbers of actions to be drawn. Like, okay, like it's cool that they are taking like the forward-looking rule of like, what are we going to have to do, and like baking that in from the beginning.
Well, and it's going to be such a tall order creating, you know, like thinking long-term. like it's not just okay, this is our spell list and these are our class abilities we're working with. It's like, okay, we need all of these different planets to be somewhat balanced amongst each other.
Mhm.
But then eventually people are going to be playing, like when multiple books are out, people are presumably going to be playing these crazy world hopper campaigns,
Mhm.
so it's
Yeah, it's crazy to
It's a-
imagine like coming up with these rules, and then you're like in the back of your mind, you're like, in like 5 years or something, some Awakener's going to show up, and I have to like work that into this system,
Mhm.
like
and I
the
expect
opposite of retroactively.
that's one of the reasons that a lot of the language in, like, yes, this is a very Stormlight setting that we're looking at, but a lot of the language is investiture, invested, right, things like that. So it's not fully future proof in that way, but it is laying some groundwork for like the Cosmere RPG, which is very neat. Also, I love the idea that maybe not only are like different aeons going to be taking like a different number of actions, but also like maybe applying a modifier is like +1 action to your +1 cost to your aeon. I think that would
That'd
also
be
be fun. But let's leave the
It
action
gives you that little
economy.
bit more granularity on like effects. That's really cool. Yeah.
Let's leave the action economy though and talk about some other features unique to the Plotweaver system. One of the ones that I like and struggle with, but I like and I want to be good at and make use of, is the different scene types. Something like D&D doesn't really. This concept doesn't exist in D&D, right? So anything you do there, whether it is combat, whether it is like just your character attempting to do something, it is just a skill check, right? You want to climb a wall, that's a skill check. You want to seduce the enemy bard while they are seducing you, that's a skill check, or maybe an opposed skill check, whatever. In Plotweaver, there are explicitly defined scene types that you can make use of, as much or as little as you want. And they include combat, conversation, and endeavor. Combat is exactly what it sounds like. Conversation is a lot what it sounds like. Like it's kind of a social combat is one way to think of it. And then endeavors are perhaps the most interesting, or at the very least the most unique one of these, which are kind of the way I think of them is a larger scale, endeavors, right? One example, perhaps, is a combat is, you are fighting a guard. A conversation would be you are at a ball and you are trying to like, over the duration of this ball, you are trying to like extract information for your heist. And then an endeavor might be you are
Well, it could be the heist itself.
Could be the heist itself, right? There are multiple, usually hidden from the players, checks or tests, where as you are like trying to do things, the game master is keeping track of how many like tasks or like checkpoints essentially you've either succeeded in or failed at. And when you reach the required number of successes, you succeed in the whole thing. And if you reach a specific number of failures, then the entire endeavor fails. So like each individual success or failure contributes to the whole, but only contributes to the whole. So failing on the first task and succeeding on the next two is essentially equivalent to succeeding on the first two and failing on the third one, right?
And there's I think chapter 12 of the handbook gives also like different types of endeavors, which so it like gets it kind of like, so the types they list are discovery, exploration, mission, and pursuit. So it gives some like examples, but also how you can set up an endeavor differently based on, is this like a chase scene? Is this, a exploration of a dungeon or an area? Is it an investigation?
Now, I know Evgeni said there was nothing in D&D like this, which is true for 5th edition. But if you go back to 4th edition, it did have this thing called skill challenges, which is very similar, but it was very clunky, which is kind of why it didn't get ported over to 5th edition, presumably. This feels like a better version of skill challenges. So it actually does kind of make sense. Yeah. Not kind of. It does make sense.
And I'll also say, like, I feel like this is something, like, when I'm reading this, a lot of D&D GMs homebrew stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, how do I abstract this challenge I want to give these players mechanically so it's not just, like, random dice rolls? Like it provides some organization and guidance for how to structure some of these. Yes.
And at the very least, I think a lot what you see in D&D is kind of a reliance on group checks, where, if your party is trying to escape an enemy camp at night, and so you're trying to, like, sneak around and you're trying to, like, incapacitate guards and stuff like that. In D&D, that would be a lot of group stealth checks and maybe survival checks, stuff like that. In this would be an endeavor. And the game master would likely just, throw the ball in the player's court and go, you want to escape, what do you want to do? And then it would be up to the players to say things like, well, I want to sneak around. I want to disguise us. I want to, incapacitate a guard, steal their uniform. I want to roleplay as a prisoner, anything like that.
I want to poison the stew.
A classic move. So that's scene types.
And then just sort of looking, there was one thing that I remembered being mentioned a few days ago. It's from So this is from the Demiplane Nexus Cosmere RPG. It's kind of confusingly named because Nexus.
Yeah, all the words.
Cosmere, but yeah, Demiplane got there first, so I can't fault them for that.
Yeah, but they have a page that is about the Cosmere RPG, and it talks about Stormlight RPG first and sort of very broad terms like what is Roshar, that kind of thing. But then it talks a little bit about what will be different about the Mistborn RPG, and so obviously the setting, but I also mentioned that the different eras will have a sort of different focuses on, like, that I imagine will sort of manifest as having a different balance of combat, conversation, and endeavor, based on, they talk about Era 2 having more social gameplay.
And it's like Roshar inherently has more big battles going on than Era 1 Scadrial, which might have more heists going on.
That's one of the things I would recommend. I think we are all the wrong audience for this because we are familiar with, like, how Stormlight feels and how Mistborn feels and how Nalthis might feel, right? So what the Demiplane is doing there is they're writing to the people who are, like, not familiar or less familiar with the Cosmere as a whole. I would still recommend people go and check out their, like, little overview of how the different settings are different from one another, because there are not groundbreaking but interesting little tidbits about obviously if you want, like, a big epic hero focused character driven thing, that's Stormlight. If you want, like, more heisty, more plotty thing, then Mistborn might be more your vibe. Not that you have the option right now, but one day.
Someday. Like, another interesting thing that the Cosmere RPG does is this concept of expertises, which is what it says on the tin. It's what is your character an expert in? And so the first ones you get are your cultural expertises of, like, where are you from? Like, where did you grow up? Like, what lineage are you? Because, hey, if you grew up in Alethkar, you should know a lot about Alethkar. But there are also, like, weapon and armor expertises, which may unlock, like, special abilities for those things. This is an inherently more open-ended part of the system where there isn't a set list of expertises. Generally speaking, you can be a bit more freeform. And it just gives an opportunity for, like, if you're an Artifabrian and you have the Fabrial expertise, you just know things about Fabrials. Where another person might have to make a check to say, what does copper do? That copper is a bad choice.
You also have to make a check because you don't know.
Exactly. What does brass do in a Fabrial? If you have Fabrial expertise, you just know that because, of course, you know that. If you're the warrior over here, there's a chance you might know, so you can roll. Or if you're getting into more like esoteric stuff that, like, hey, a random person just isn't gonna know this, but there's a chance you might know if you're studied in the thing. So it gives you the opportunity to not have to roll for the small things and giving you a chance to roll on the big things.
And so my understanding is that while there are some predefined expertises, there's essentially anything you can choose, right? So I can be in like a mist, like an Era 1 setting, and I can pick an expertise in like the Canton of Inquisition internal policies, right? Maybe that's a little too specific, and I don't want to do that, but like theoretically, I could.
Yeah, it's like there's a balancing act of like more specificity might mean more of an effect on that one thing, whereas a broader just steel ministry expertise like will give you a more broader knowledge base, but you might not get like the hyper specifics.
I've found that a little daunting, just the the world is your oyster type of thing, because infinite possibilities, right? I think you just don't have to go, hyper specific. I can be an expert in Alethkar culture and gem cutting.
The example they use in the handbook is, you could have an expertise in religion generally, but still need to roll for some like really obscure things. Or you could pick an expertise in stone shamanism, which is going to be more powerful, but like less widely applicable.
More focused.
Like you're going to get to, so it's like this, like you're choosing just like you would an expertise. Like, are you a generalist that you're going to be able to use that expertise very often, but it's not going to do as much? Or are you a specialist that's going to like maybe not get to use it every session, but when you're able to use it, you're like, I got this.
It's a very wizard versus sorcerer thing.
Yeah. So, and then you can be both, right? Like you could be a specialist in some areas and a generalist in that, like when you're choosing your expertises. So,
okay. So some other things I wanna quickly kind of rapid fire through, because we are spending a lot of time on the system, but the system is kind of important, right? One thing that I think is really fun is that where in D&D everything is a skill check against like a target DC or a target armor. Here there are three different defenses that a lot of your checks are going to. So in fact, I don't think there's like opposed skill tests. Mm-mm. It is, so in other words, if you're trying to do something like, if you're trying to deceive an opponent, for example, you are not going to be rolling against them. You're going to be rolling against their static defense of their appropriate static defense value. And the defenses are physical, cognitive, and spiritual, which tickles me very nicely. I like that a lot.
Yeah, because like D&D, there are 6 base attributes, but for this game, they are split across the 3 realms. There's strength and speed for the physical. There's intellect and willpower for the cognitive. And then there's awareness and presence for the spiritual. So they're not. They don't quite map 1-to-1, but it's I like it.
And I'm curious if I can throw a question to the group, because I'm just thinking about this. So from a lore perspective and our understanding of like the three realms, how do we because obviously they just had to make some decisions and they have to make it work neatly for a character sheet, right?
Yes.
But I don't know, I kind of like, the cognitive being associated, like intellect is obvious for cognitive. Willpower, I think works too.
I think willpower is kind of like your ability to like keep going, like through pain or like discomfort, like of like through distractions of like you're staying focused, that sort of thing.
I mean, in a lot of ways, willpower is your ability to say "I'm a stick" when someone tries to turn you into fire.
Yeah,
and that's very cognitive.
Yeah.
And then presence it's tied into connection. It's like how
and identity.
It's like peek behind the scenes, like watching some of the discussions on like them picking what the attributes were going to be was really fun and interesting, of like the different like the synonyms being thrown around.
Brandon did kind of mess up when he was doing picking the ferrochemical aspects, because determination is notably not a cognitive attribute. But I like to think that this is sort of going back and fixing that sort of, because
warmth is famously a cognitive attribute. Though, hey, if we bring in the Wheel of Time and the Aes Sedai ability to just ignore what the weather is, that's basically willpower.
I don't believe in my limbs freezing.
I'm just not going to let it affect me. I don't care if it's super hot out. I'm just not going to sweat. Like, insane that they can do that.
Anyway, so that's the three defenses. I think that's I think they're fun. I think they're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
There's a variety of other like very small mechanics that we don't need to talk about. What I do want to mention is, much like there are three defenses, there are three I was going to say combat resources, but they're not unique to combat. They're just resources that you can spend. And this is going to feel more familiar to the video game enjoyers in the crowd. And that's health, mana, and energy. But it's not health, mana, and energy. It is health, focus, and investiture, right? Your health is your physical well-being, but also like your ability to keep going in a lot of ways. And I bring that up because I think it's important to keep in mind that your health dropping to 0 doesn't mean you're dead. Your health dropping to 0 means that you are no longer able to fight. Whether that means you've fallen unconscious, or you were just too tired to fight, or whether you've been vaporized by night blood, or whether you've sustained spiritual damage that renders you unable. Like, health 0 means you cannot fight, not that you are anything specific.
And likewise, like taking HP damage doesn't mean you're taking physical wounds. Like, because like if you take damage because someone critted on you with a shard blade or an honor blade, that happened to me. Your health is going to drop. That doesn't mean you actually got hit by the honor blade, because there's consequences to that.
Or perhaps even a better example, right? Someone attacking you with Nightblood and you're taking any amount of damage. If Nightblood touches you, you are gone. There's no, I took 2 damage from Nightblood. That does not exist. And so the 2 damage represents your like exhaustion and reduced ability to like continue avoiding these attacks. So that's health. Focus is kind of your mental health. It's your ability to resist mental attacks, and also your ability to like push through non-physical confrontation. So like you see focus a lot during like social encounters, where NPCs and this is far from the only use, but it's the one that sticks with me as the most evocative one, is NPCs will often use focus to resist the influence of players. So if you're trying to persuade someone to like join your side or let you go through the gate or whatever, then you may need to like succeed multiple times if they are reluctant to let you go.
You have to burn through their focus.
Yeah.
And there are some other abilities that like require a focus to use.
Yeah. I was going to say like a lot of the, like you'll have actions that are limited for balance reasons or whatever. And if they're not an investiture related ability, which we'll get to, they're, one of the limiters some of them have on them is a focus cost. So you spend a focus to use an ability.
And like there are some paths that grant focus to other characters, or you can spend an opportunity to go back to that to regain one focus. So it's a resource that fluctuates over the course of a session.
And there is investiture. It is effectively the mana of this system. It behaves slightly different from a video game mana, but there's a lot of overlap. It is just how much, magic energy you have in you. If you go down to 0, you cannot do magic. If you have some, you may be able to do some magic as long as you have enough to perform whatever it is that you were trying to perform, right? Nothing fancy about it. The thing about focus I wanted to bring up, and the thing that sticks in my head all the time, ties in another, it's not a system, but it's a feature of this system, which is the ability to, in combat, if you miss, you have the ability to spend focus and graze the enemy, which is, yes, you missed the attack, but you can still do like partial damage at the expense of focus, which I think feels really good. Yeah. Especially because in Plot Weaver, so if you play D&D, usually the way you do combat is you roll your d20 to see if you hit or miss. If you hit, then you roll your damage die or dice and see how much damage you do. In Plot Weaver, you roll both at the same time. And that feels a little weird, not gonna lie. But the benefit it has is that not only do you see whether you hit or miss, you see if you miss, how much damage you would have done. And that can inform your decision to go, oh, actually, I would like to do that damage by spending focus. And then, because grazing is, you do the dice damage and you just don't add any like modifiers on top of that. So that's how that plays into that neatly.
Yeah. The other very big part of the system that we haven't really talked about is the paths, which unlike D&D, which has classes which have very limited choices most of the time, and it's a set progression of abilities, paths is a more open-ended methodology where there are 6 heroic paths. These are the non-invested options. Like
Your
warrior,
warriors,
envoy, agent, which each have multiple specializations, and it's a talent tree. It's like you pick the one, and then you just follow the tree, picking whichever talents you're interested in. It gives you so much more flexibility in designing the character you want to play. And it's going back to that balancing of like going for breadth, like you can do a lot of different things, or like focusing on one branch of one tree and maxing it out and getting the most powerful version of an ability. It just gives you a level of granularity that you don't get in D&D.
It's similar. I found it similar, like not in what it's called or how it's named or how it's set up, but like in how I think of it, like the Skyrim skill trees in like you can either follow the path and unlock things linearly, spread it out, or a combo.
And I think one of the reasons this is as successful as it is, at least in my eyes, is that while going deeper down in one specialization gives you more power. It is not like a ton more power. So in other words, if you think of a talent tree, so in top is where the tree starts in this case, and bottom is where the latest talents are, the ones that require the most investment. If you compare like a talent node near the top and a talent node near the bottom, the one near the bottom is more powerful, but it's not like multiple times more powerful. And so a character that is more of a generalist that goes, hey, I'm gonna go halfway in each of the 3 specializations is not going to feel behind or much behind. In fact, they're probably not going to feel behind at all than a character that chooses to drill down in one specialization and go all the way to the bottom. Going all the way down gives you like very unique and specialized abilities, especially when we talk about like radiant paths, where the deeper down you go, the more ideals you have access to, and therefore the more like unique abilities. But that requires a lot of like investment on your part. Whereas a generalist who spends like, half their points in this specialization and half their points in this other specialization and never reaches the bottom, they still have like a wide breadth of very useful abilities that they can use. Like they don't get left behind is how this plays out. And kudos for, generally all of these feel very balanced, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to feel the balanced in the same way, right? You're not going to be able to put like a diplomat against a shard bearer, both of them at level 10, and expect the diplomat to win in combat. But you would absolutely expect the diplomat to be like overwhelmingly more powerful in social scenarios.
As someone who is a notorious multiclasser in D&D, this is not only allowed in Plot Weaver, it's heavily suggested. Like you're expected to have multiple trees you're working on, whether that's like, you start off as a heroic path and then you add a radiant path at some later point. It's like, that's a very default version of doing it. You can pick from multiple heroic paths. Like you can pick from multiple specializations within the same path. It just feels a lot nicer, and it makes different characters feel more unique. Just which talents you take.
And the books, the game books, that is, do go and like provide you with examples of how characters from the novels might be represented in a system like this. And they would go, hey, Kaladin is not, a windrunner, like a level 20 windrunner. He's got points in leader, he's got points in surgeon, he's got points in windrunner. Obviously, you can probably make an argument for a couple more. Similarly, Dalinar is way less of a Knight Radiant than he is like some kind of a warrior, right? And so a lot of the main characters, you can make a very convincing case, are at the very least two path multipathing like type of deal.
Yeah, the lore really like requires that the system accommodate this type of easy spreading out. If for like, even if you ignore, like the characters in the books, just the idea that you can become a radiant at any point in like your character arc or whatever.
You can be a shoemaker from Erie, and and die.
The other big thing is, again, unlike D&D, where all of the classes are 3/4 to 90% focused on combat, there's a ton of non-combat abilities here because combat's only one portion of the game.
It's 1/3 of all scene types.
So the last big thing we're going to talk about is the concept of goals, which are kind of short-term missions for your characters. Of like,
I guess goals and rewards. might be.
Yeah. Goals and rewards tie into this, where you pick a thing your character is trying to do. That some talents tie directly into this, where it's like, if you take the talent for the second ideal, you get a goal that says swear the second ideal. Or it could be one of the examples given on a character sheet in the book is infiltrate the Ghost Bloods. These are more open-ended things you're trying to do. And at the end of each session, you and your GM have a conversation. It's like, did my actions during this session contribute to fulfilling this goal? If yes, you check one. And once the 3 check boxes are open, you get a reward, which might be you unlock a whole suite of new surge binding abilities. It might be, I have a new patron, Mraze of the Ghost Bloods. Oh, I now have a follower that is going to help me out for things. I have an animal companion. That's cool. Oh, neat. I just got this super awesome Fabrial.
Yeah, goals and rewards are an interesting ways of one of the many ways they balance invested and non-invested characters. Kind of the idea that if you are playing, a Surge Binder or Night Radiant, whatever, misting, you have to. I mean, maybe I shouldn't bring misting into this because we don't know how mistings are going to work. Yeah. But I'm assuming they're going to work similarly to Surge Binders, where you have to essentially spend your goals, or rather spend the rewards you earn from your goals to advance magically. So where someone like Adolin might be getting rewards that are Shard Blade, Shard Plate, patronage, stuff like that. Someone like Kaladin needs to be spending his rewards on second ideal, third ideal, dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder, fourth ideal, stuff like that, right? It's interesting. I have to say the patronage thing is interesting. It also feels difficult.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I've played a dozen or so sessions of this system. I've not interacted with any patrons in game, so I don't quite know how that works. But there's a lot of things that, I'm interested to see how this actually plays out in game.
Yeah. Patronage is a mechanic or a reward that I do feel is better suited to a longer situation, because it's kind of like that. How does this relationship improve or help on an ongoing basis?
Yeah. And I think part of the reason I struggle with this is because my brain is still very much it very much defaults to the D&D style of play, which is a dungeon crawl, right? Yes, there are social encounters. Yes, there is going here and, talking with guards and seducing bartenders and stuff like that. But D&D is very often walk into a dungeon, whether it is a literal dungeon or, a metaphorical one, and make your way through hordes of enemies and reap rewards. That kind of gameplay is not good for, who cares that Navani is my patron in all of this? And the Cosmere RPG is fundamentally not this kind of setting. It is, think of the Stormlight books. There is virtually no moment in the Stormlight books that is a dungeon crawl. I say virtually. Don't give me that.
Now I want to think of one. Going into the basement of Earthiru and confronting Reshafir.
Sure. That is... Yeah. Yes.
That's one of the closest I think you'd get to a traditional...
The invasion on Earthiru by the Fused and by the Odium's forces is probably it's not a dungeon crawl, it's a, an assault, an invasion, but that also counts.
The Kolinar Palace...
Sure. There are moments, but for the most part, Cosmere novels are not get in a location, fight a bunch of enemies, defeat a boss, earn rewards, right? It is a lot more social than that. And in situations like that, in social situations like that, patronage would be more valuable. So like I recognize that there is a portion of this which is my brain is going to a default that does not apply to this kind of setting. But I have to recognize that my brain does in fact go there.
Yeah. And I think also like there can be, like, I don't know, I haven't looked up what the official like Navani benefits are, but you hypothetically you could have a patron.
can tell you what her benefits are, I was saying.
Yeah. But I, like you could have more mechanical, like a patron provides supplies or support or information. Looking in the world guide, it looks like Navani might help with a Fabrial breakthrough as a suggestion, or
depending on the
lots of different
timeline of when your adventures do it. She could probably also, you could say that she makes you a bondsmith squire or something, because I think that's something that Dalinar can do as a patron.
Yeah, and it's like you're setting out and you have to defend a village that's being attacked by Odium's forces. Like you're gonna want Dalinar as your patron, gearing you up for that more so than Navani.
Yeah,
Navani's gonna give you neat Fabrial tech weapons. Dalinar's gonna get you some soldiers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Here, so this is in the world guide. Navani can provide you with a powerful Fabrial or gemstone suitable to your party's tier. So it can be fun.
So through the power of technology and Evgeni screen sharing, we've pulled up one of the heroic powers, the warrior, which they've shown publicly, so we don't feel bad about sharing this, kind of giving you the layout of the different specializations. Like there's like a key talent you take to start with, and then you can just follow things down. And so the Stormlight Handbook for Warrior gives 3 specializations: a duelist, shard bearer, soldier. The Mistborn Handbook will have different specializations. Some may be unique to worlds, some may show up on multiple worlds.
I believe it can change based on like the era, because I believe they've mentioned 2 paths that are or 2 parts of there's one part of the warrior path and one part of the hunter path that are specific for guns in
yes. Yeah.
In Era 2.
And
so
there are no guns in Era 1. So yeah. My understanding is that the entire Cosmere RPG is going to have these 6 heroic paths, right? Agent, Envoy, Hunter, Leader, Scholar, Warrior. And then the specializations for each one of these are potentially going to be, at least partially unique to each. So for example, we're looking at the Warrior right now. Warrior has Duelist, Shard Bearer, and Soldier. You are obviously not going to have a Shard Bearer on any world, in any setting that is not Brushar. Soldier, you probably have Soldier in a lot of places, right? Mm-hmm. And then Duelist, maybe you have Duelist in other places, but it looks a little bit different, because like this one has like katas and like stances and things like that. There's no flame stance for Mistborn Era 2, right? But maybe there's like a
haze killer, you might say.
A haze killer. Yeah, I was gonna bring Nalthis into this with like a Swordmaster or something like that, but and then the invested paths, right? All of the Radiant paths, all of the Ferrochemical and Misting and like Metalborn paths, they're probably going to be pretty unique to each individual setting.
Yeah, and I imagine for some settings it'll be sort of, I don't know. I think you could probably sort of mix like the invested and non-invested paths a little bit. Like what I was thinking of was so there's like the Artifabrian, say on Cell, instead of an Artifabrian you might have a Forger. Something like that. Because I don't, stuff like Elantrian probably would necessitate its own like equivalent to a Radiant path. But something like Forger, maybe not. A lot of flexibility.
We shall see.
And
whenever
I
they
like-
get around to sell.
Yeah. What I like too about the warrior path is it does kind of demonstrate a bit what we were talking about before with even like if you're playing a radiant, for example, you have to have at least, I think it's 1 level in a heroic path before you can start radiant. So you're dealing with at least 2, or is it more levels? Is it 1 tier? I can't remember. Anyway.
At least 1 level of a heroic path.
Yeah.
You can take. It's heavily suggested by the game system not to start at level 1 with a radiant path.
Yeah. So generally, it's expected you're gonna, if you're playing a radiant, at least you're gonna have at least 2 paths. But you could have more. But like even within warrior, like if we were building Adolin, say, who I think is probably one of the archetypal characters for the warrior, he wouldn't be one of the sub groups, right? Like he would probably have levels in duelist and take talents, also take talents in shard bearer,
which you're freely able to do. It's not like in D&D is a common refrain for, Eric, you're going to hate me for this. Can you put a ticker in the corner that counts up every time we say, unlike in D&D?
Yeah.
Where, like, if you pick a subclass, you can't pick another subclass from that class.
Yeah.
Like there is no mechanism for that. And it would break a lot of things if you did. Here, it's just a thing you can do. And is somewhat expected.
And like one of the reasons I wanted to show this on screen was to kind of picture or visualize how all of this works, right? And obviously you're not going to be able to like fully read necessarily everything, but that's fine. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, you should buy the book if you
buy the books if you want to read it. Yeah,
please buy the books. Yes, you can buy them. CosmereRPG.com. So with something like the warrior, and with all of them, you're going to get this key talent up on top, which is kind of it's your key talent. It's your defining talent for the path that you've taken, that you have to take. And then all of these lines that exist from here on out indicate prerequisites. So from the key talent, you can become a duelist, you can become a shard bearer, you can become a soldier, which allows you to, you don't become a duelist, you just take talents in the appropriate subpath specialization. And so you can take like the practiced kata or the flame stance, or you can take shard training or stone stance or cautious advance or combat training, and then just follow. So for example, I can go kata, iron stance, sure-footed, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm okay with my duelist trees. Let me go up and pick stone stance from the shard bearer talent, and also let me go all the way down to like the end of the soldier path, and that's something I can do. Or I can stop at any point and go to like a Dustbringer, and halfway through my warrior progression, I can go down the Ash sprint. I have to take the Dustbringer key talent, and taking an invested path is going to come with a whole bunch of other like prerequisites and stuff like that. Obviously, I need to be sexy to an Ash sprint and things like that. But I can take that, and then I can.
Or going back to what we were discussing before, is like to take the first ideal key talent, it does require level 2.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, prerequisites. There we go.
And the book also gives some suggestion. Obviously, you can build your own character however you want, but the book gives some suggestions too about like heroic paths that might pair well with some of the different orders.
Yeah. So I think if you want to play like a light weaver, the book is not going to recommend the warrior to you.
But you can if you want.
You could.
But you can if you want. Yeah. So I think that's mostly kind of what we wanted to show off here. Just kind of what the paths look like and how you can go down one specialization. You can see that this is not entirely like linear. So if you follow the lines down in the Ash Sprint Bond like specialization, you can go from second ideal down to third ideal to fourth ideal. But once you hit third ideal, you can you can follow directly down to the fourth, or you can like take this off to the side, and like take a squire, for example, or deepen your bond. So like these are not, I think in an ideal world this would have been more like horizontally spread. But they want to have the art in there. They want to have the more clear separation of here's one specialization, here's another, here's a third. You can follow some lines. That's fine. I'll take this gorgeous art on every path page over some like graphic design thing that makes it a little bit more clear any day.
And speaking of art,
speaking of art we've shown off two really top-notch pieces of art. There is so much more in this book. So I think we're going to transition a little away from discussing the system at large, and we're going to discuss and in general gush about the incredible wealth of art that we got. I do want to shout out two names that should be familiar to you if you have been watching this, because they are fan artists that we have discussed many times in the past. Katie Payne is the art director for the Cosmere RPG, and Marie Seeberger is the concept artist, though she still has a significant number of final pieces scattered across these books, including the best art piece in the book. But I want to shout them out because, yes, they are both incredible artists, but they are also fan artists to start with. It's like, I love that Brotherwise brought these two in because they do love the books. Like, they did a lot of work on the art to make sure it's what the fans want in the best way possible.
And I really like to, because I feel like this is following off of something I've really appreciated with Brandon, like the way Dragonsteel has engaged with fan artists, and like some of the leather bounds, like there's been art that has been floating around in the fandom community that ends up in there, or artists who are fan artists who end up doing some official art for Dragonsteel. And I feel like Brotherwise has taken that and like engaging with people in the community and being able, as someone who's been in the fandom, to look at the acknowledgements and maybe not recognize some names because these are mostly proper names, not handles that we might know them by. But there's a lot. If you are able to piece the proper names to some of the handles on your own, you'll find some familiar people there if you've been following Cosmere art for the last number of years.
And there will be some names that you don't recognize who were, maybe like
industry professional,
like quietly fans of Brandon's work that didn't have any fan art. That, like, the way this worked is a long time ago, Brotherwise put out a call that said, hey, we are looking for artists. If you want to potentially contribute to the RPG, apply here, essentially. And they had their own artists that they already knew they wanted to either work with or at least consider working with, but they sent out a broad call because you want to catch as many names as you want. And this is the list of all the artists that worked on this particular book and other books. So I've got the handbook open right now. World Guide has other things. Other adventures can potentially have, Stonewalkers and other adventures can have like potentially different things.
Yeah, and it's like some of these are people who did artwork for the deck building game or for Stormlight Cult Adventure. There's a few that have done Magic the Gathering art, which I'm sure Brandon is very excited about, or D&D so. I love the blend of industry professionals and fan artists, some of whom may also be industry professionals.
Yeah.
But there is such a wealth of talent in the community already that I'm glad that wasn't ignored.
One of my absolute favorite things, like I hi listeners, hey, let's talk about me for a moment. So I am not single-handedly, but like I do most of the 17 shard Patreon funded Coppermind like monthly art commissions. So if you are not a patron, or if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, every month we use money from our Patreon to like do an art commission. Our patrons vote on what's going to get commissioned, and then we hire a fan artist from the community and we do a piece. This month we're doing Silverlight, but you know,
the fans got to vote. It's just all of the options were the same.
Hey, I didn't say the polls were going to be fair at any point. Anyway, so so I do that, right? So I end up like speaking with a lot of artists. I commission a lot of artists. There's like a Laura Druller commission that just finished. It might be posted by the time this episode goes live, but maybe not. So one of the things that give me just the utmost joy in the world is seeing an artist that either I have worked with before or that I am just familiar with from like having followed their work and stuff like that. And then seeing them in the Cosmere RPG or seeing them in a Leatherbound or stuff like that. Like, and so one of the artists that you're going to find here, Ari Ibarra, reached out to me at one point and was like, hey, this piece that you commissioned me to do a couple of years ago, which is a Marsh piece from The Lost Meadow. It's a Marsh like crunching a pistol, like when he walks into the constabulary. Brotherwise wants to license that and use that. Is it okay for, because like, hey, the 17 shard commissioned, and so like, of course I said yes. Like our fan art policy or commission policy has always been, hey, the art belongs to the artist. All we ask is that we publish it first, and then once we publish it, it's your art. You can do whatever you want with it. Mm-hmm. And so,
and we can use it on the Coppermind and
yes, and for thumbnails on videos.
Yes, our requirements are very sparse. But like just the idea that there are, and I mean, obviously Ari Ibarra is a prolific enough artist that he would have been spotted and probably hired regardless of whether he had done a piece for us. But being in a position where I can see artists that have done fan art that have then quote unquote graduated into like official art, whether it is for the Cosmere RPG or any of the letter, like many of you will probably have seen, so in the same way that you will have seen Marie Zimmerberg's art, because she has about 7 billion fan works, you will probably have seen Peter Penef's DNA Venoms art. His shard plate, very unique designs. So like he started off as a fan artist, incredibly talented fan artist, and he is now art directing the Eye of the World, or not the Eye of the World, but like the Wheel of Time leatherbound books, right? So he's gone not just from fan art to official art, but above that to like art directing official art, which is incredible. Yeah. And so seeing all of these names and like not just recognizing some of these people, but like, and not just knowing these people, but having worked with some of these people, it is just an absolute delight. And I cannot understate how happy I am to see all of these people in here, but also to see them credited in not only in here, but you will notice that on each page, where there is art, there is art credit for the artist. This is not going to be super readable, but this says Mika Epstein. So
I love that Brotherwise picked all of these artists and allowed them to bring their own style to the book. It's like Marie's art is very unique. It's great. If you see an art piece and it's Marie, you know it's Marie. They didn't force everyone to do the same style, which sometimes happens in a lot of D&D books. The art feels very samey, whereas here there's a wide breadth of different styles from the wide breadth of artists. Who are those weirdos you're highlighting, Evgeni?
I found that amidst all of the cool people that are credited on this page, like Brandon Sanderson and Johnny O'Neill and Isaac Stewart and all of these illustrators, there's just a bunch of weirdos. It's just a bunch of weirdos on page. I don't know why those weirdos are in there, but I figured I will highlight the weirdos. No, that's us. I'm proud that we've been able to contribute to this project.
So transitioning a little from just general squeeing about the art in general, we're going to highlight some of our favorite pieces. Now, when I was outlining this episode, I thought this would be a really easy thing to do. And then I was scrolling through picking things, and I very quickly went, oh no, I'm picking too many things. All of this art is too good. So this is going to be highlights. There's so much more. If we could, in good conscience, scroll through these PDFs showing off every piece of art, we would. But you should buy these books yourselves. They're expensive, but they're worth the price.
These are not art books, but there is art on every page, almost every page.
Almost every page.
I think you would be hard pressed to go 4 pages without seeing a single piece of art. And some of them are going to be like, here's some gems, here's a little, like, a weapon or a piece of armor. But a lot of them are going to be, stuff like this. It's going to be like a full page or a half page, character portraits, scenes. There's a lot of really cool stuff.
And there are some things reused from prior sources. Like, I know the Shalon piece Michael Whalen did for Words of Radiance and Pages is in there. The Herald portraits that were the end pages are in there, but there's a ton of new stuff as well.
Yeah, no, an incredible amount, really.
So we're just gonna each pick our top 2 or 3 and show them off. And so we're going to start with my favorite piece, which is the best piece in the books, which is a piece from Marie Seeberger. And there's a bit of a story that comes along with this, which is that I was fortunate enough to be in an internal playtest for Stonewalkers with a couple of very neat people, including Marie Seeberger, and also including Lydia Suen, who is a writer for the project, and Jillian Schumacher, who is Brotherwise's social media director and all-around amazing person. She does a lot. They all do a lot. But the nice thing about being in an RPG campaign with an artist is that she does art of people's characters. And then the campaign finishes and months go by, and then you found out that she's using your group's characters in an illustration that's going in the books. So those of you on the Discord may have noticed I changed my profile pic recently to this random Thalen guy in this random art piece. And it's because he's my character. This is Kavir. He's an Artifabrian from Thalena, who eventually becomes an Elsecaller. And you can see his little Inkspren companion, and his name is Tincture. And yeah, I'm just really excited that a character I played is in this book. even if he's not named, I know who that is. I know who all these characters are, and it's really exciting.
Excellent. So I'll go next, and I wanna show this incredible piece by Jessie Chen Liu. You may have seen her fan art around. She has been a fan artist for a little while, and a couple of her pieces. I think one of her pieces got picked up for the RPG. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But I think one of them got picked up and then to be like remastered for the RPG. And then she did a couple more. She has like, if you are familiar with the Stonewalkers campaign, the character Kayana, she did the official art for her. And then other artists ended up like doing art of that character, but obviously in their own style. So like kind of a big deal, you know. But this is one of my favorite pieces in the entire RPG so far. Like I've always been a fan of Jessica's art, and it's just it is so good. Like this is obviously Navani and Romonio creating Warlight and not being gay at all. I don't know, like there's no like special or personal story that I can attach to this piece. It is just, I think it is incredibly well done. I think the singer designs in the entire, in fact, I will do like a little honorary mention. There's so much singer art in the RPG, and it is all so incredibly good. And this is no exception, right? It's just like there's no, I can't say anything like intelligent about this. It is just a really good piece, and I'm really happy with it. And I think it looks incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's Navani. You know I'm gonna like it.
Yes, but oddly, Navani is, out of all of my favorite things about this favorite piece of art, Navani is my least favorite. Like, it's just the fact that there's a tuning fork and like the way the lights swirl and like the composition. Like, I think Romonio looks absolutely banging, even though she's not 8 feet tall. It's just, everything is fantastic.
Notice how
Navani's just standing on a box. That's why they're so close at height.
Yes, okay, I buy it. Matt, where do you want to go?
Yeah, let's go to here, let me just find that page. I had it. There we are.
I like how 4 of them are Adolin.
Well, that was mostly just me trying to pick out all the Adolins. Let's go to 168.
Handbook or World Guide?
And the World Guide. And that's not page of the PDF. That was, yeah, that one.
Yeah, this could have been one of mine, but yes.
Do you know who the artist is on this one?
It is Audrey Hott.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. This is one of the ones that stood out to me. It's, I don't know why. Like, I think just Shadesmar can be hard to picture sometimes, and you know, this
Not
isn't like always. And this isn't like necessarily out of left field way of picturing it. Like we've seen stuff like this before, but for some reason, this just really was like, yes, this is what I was trying to imagine in my head, but couldn't quite get there because of the limits of my imagination. And, you know, great scene with great characters. It's really pretty.
Yeah. I am absolutely rabid about Audrey's art. I think she does character design just unbelievably well. If you put like a shotgun to my head and was like, hey, who are the best Cosmere character fan artists? I don't know why you were putting a shotgun to my head to ask me that question, because I would answer it anyway. But like I would probably pick Audrey Hott and Deandra. I don't know how to say her last name. Skiluna. I think it's
Saluna.
Yeah. Dia is how I think of her. She has a lot of like character arts in here. So, but these two just, I think they capture the energy, like the vibe of the characters so well. They're like faces, like their character designs, just always land with me so perfectly. And this is an example of that. I also love that this was going to be one of my favorites, and I chose not to include it. But I love that this one it has a little bit of like almost visceral physicality to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can see Yasna physically hoisting Shallan out of the
onto the platform.
Yeah, out of the beads ocean, and you can see the platform itself, right? This thing.
Yeah, and it's like that's what I like about it. Like the principle, like because this page is, as you can see, next to the start of the chapter about Shadesmar, right? So, but the art, it's never just doing one thing. Like it might have a dominant purpose of, okay, we need an evocative image to show something about Shadesmar because that's the chapter we're in. But you're also showing a cool character moment from the books, or in some places, other places, it's maybe not from the books because it's like an original character design of something we haven't gotten to see with a named character. Yeah, like it's just these books give you a lot in terms of the art, and there's never an art piece that is just, just there for like one purpose or just to fill space. It's all very, and yeah, like we're just like the amount of art we now have as a fandom. I feel I already felt very spoiled, especially, thinking back to the early days of reading Mistborn and not
back in the shadow days.
In the shadow days, I mean, I remember
when we had Ex Machina and just about Ex Machina and Botanica, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, and Ben McSweeney, Ink Thinker, right?
And Ink Thinker, yes.
I remember. I think was it him who did one of those early Inquisitor arts.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
I remember when his Inquisitor art came out, and I was like, finally, I can picture how these nails in the eyes work. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, I had trouble wrapping my mind around that. Going from that to now, when we have like more art than we can ever do anything with, and then these books multiply.
More art than we can fit in their Coppermind articles.
That is true. That is factual statement.
Yeah, I always like mentally have like a problem like not thinking of Shadesmar or Roshar and Shadesmar as like a ball pit. This helps a lot with like reminding myself, no, it's not like that. It's and it also works as Matt was saying, like part of this chapter of the book is sort of outlining how if you end up in Shadesmar, you're in danger. You have to suddenly start thinking about like food and water and all that, and like just the inherent, peril. And I think that, they picked a really good scene from the book to represent that, and they picked a really good artist to represent that scene in the book.
Yeah, like it communicates so much about Shadesmar, like you said, but yeah. So yeah, I just want to give a shout out that Stick made it in. I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be Stick.
That is
I haven't translated it, but I have a feeling that the writing
says I'm a stick. Yeah. That's from the Call to Adventure. They had like a little. They had a card that they were handing out to like at conventions and stuff like that, I believe. Mm-hmm. So they've just this is Ari Ibarra.
Yeah,
I believe. Yeah.
And that's the other thing I love about this book too, is it's not just like a bunch of new art, it's also like collecting, because like you might see something online and maybe you have the deck building game and maybe you have, whatever else, but it's not like not an art book. It doesn't have every piece of art ever, but it collects a lot of some of the like really incredible pieces that have been out there, and also adds so many.
I think it strikes a great balance, I would say, between existing art that has been just included, existing art that has been remastered. One of the things that we haven't talked about, but is well known, is that all of the Rhythm of War Shallan like Spren pages, so the ones where she like depicts Spren, like Honor Spren, Convention Spren, all of that, they have been included in here, except they are now in color.
Yeah.
And so you're going to see stuff like that. So
more than just the Rhythm of War, there's a lot of Shalon sketchbooks from across the series. Full color. They look very cool.
They look incredible. The music spread, by the way, is so good.
Mm-hmm.
So a great balance between existing art like the Heralds, remastered art like these, and then brand new fan art. Or not fan art, but Adam, do we want to go to one of yours?
Yeah, so one thing that I believe is unique to art by Weiry is they sort of have this diegetic justification for the art, where they have this. She is sort of writing and drawing as a Lightweaver character who is visiting different places, and one of the places that they visit is Celebrant from Oathbringer. Yeah. And it's sort of, great art, but then it also, through the labels that are written sort of in world, they are able to include a bunch of small world building details that are just fun. Like they have a clock that I don't remember if there's a clock mentioned, but it sort of makes sense that they would have some way of telling time, and so Marie came up with a spread specific way that they tell time. And then there's also mentions of cans from Off-World and stuff like that, and so it's a really nice mix of art and world building.
Yeah, that's a neat thing they have been able to do, of like sneaking in references to other worlds, particularly like in some of their adversaries that have strange abilities. What could those be?
I think I believe there's a pewter arm somewhere in there. There's also I think the art for the the art for the agent is actually a ghost blood agent, and you can like recognize some. I think she has like a medallion and some vials of Teldane sand and a couple of other like doodads.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then just one more thing from this art is I'm pretty sure it's the first depiction we have of those water condenser thingamajigs that the spread have. Oh, yeah. Which they put like the essence of cold into them, and it's able to
hydrator of Habriels. Yeah. Let's go back to Ian.
My next one is going to be chapter 2 in the Stormlight Handbook.
Randy Vargas.
Yes. So here is another piece very early in the Stormlight Handbook, because I was scrolling through and picking all of the art. This is Dalinar's. He's not my favorite character. This is such a good Dalinar piece, though. I love like the shards of broken glass, of flashing back to different parts of his life. It's just such a cool aesthetic that even though it's a character I don't super care for, I'm like, I don't care that this is Dalinar piece of art. It's a cool piece of art.
Randy's really good. Randy. I mean, there is a reason he is like on a bunch of Magic cards, right?
Yeah. If there was like some like stylized like Stormlight TV show or movie or something, and they got to this scene, like the scene in Oathbringer, I could see this sort of happening where like the background shatters and you see a bunch of memories or something.
Here's your Blackthorn, here's your Evie weeping, here's your Rathalas. Yeah, no, it's incredible. So I'm gonna take us to. I'll take a page out of Adam's, which is the World Guide. This is another Marie piece, which has all of the unmade, which is. I don't need to tell you how cool that this is, right? Obviously, some of these are going to be familiar to us, right? We have Janat here, we have Mishram here. Some people have identified that Mishram has what looks like a glowing gem in her heart chest. Dust Mother looks
probably the first depiction of Dust Mother we've gotten.
I mean, there's no probably about it. It is the first one, right?
Yeah.
This is, we don't need to go through all of these, but like all of them are really, really cool. There's a little bit about, this is a chamber beneath Raul El Rim, stuff like that. I don't care about that.
Well, it is. It's another example of Lemuri being able to work in like in world, like just like the reason that these are glowing is because in world there's like gems in these, in this like base relief that glow in those colors
And what's so cool about that is if you're like, especially because this is a world guide for a RPG, if you are setting a campaign and your characters ended up in this chamber, like you could literally put this art in front of them and be like, this is what you're looking at.
This is
right?
what it looks like, yeah.
Which is...
there's like Moloch with some like death spren in here, which is, but yeah, this is, I'm incredibly happy that that this piece exists. It looks, they're amazing.
Cool.
So this is another cool, like just a formatting thing, like, because in the print book, these are paired, right?
No, these are not.
These are not.
Oh,
There
these
are
are not in the
pages.
print books.
No.
Okay. Even still, you do have a lot of like books, like the art like corresponds and like ties in some way. So even though this isn't one image that's split up, like you can see this as them being like in the same room together.
Back to back.
Yeah. Ayatil, again, like we've gotten some art over the years of the half mask, but I think also my Mistborn Heart, you know, some Southern Scadrian, even though Ayatil isn't Southern, blah 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 blah.
Asterisk.
That's the Ghost Bloods for you, right? There's always an asterisk. Murray's, he just looks good.
Yeah. Is that the extent of how you feel about this depiction of Mraize?
Yeah, I also like because another thing again that I have trouble picturing, because they talk about how he's Talon, but he's shaved or clipped his eyebrows, I think, in the books, right? And like just kind of seeing like he kind of still has you can see how those would be Talon eyebrows that, you know, like I those little details I think are just lots of fun. And he made Feather or Alex very happy.
Yeah, no, she feels completely normal about this Mraize.
Yes, yeah.
I will. So this is one of those examples where this piece used to be just a fan work that the artist did a while back, and Brotherwise contacted her and was like, "Hey, do you want to remaster this essentially for the RPG?" And this, so like if you go to like Mraize's Coppermind page, you can see the original version, and then if you own the RPG, you can compare it to the final version, and it's essentially the same. It's just like a little bit cleaned up and a little bit like polished,
and like the face changes a little bit because this is a more canonical depiction of him that the artist like wouldn't have had access to the resources to get there as a fan artist.
But that is really cool. Adam, let's go to you.
Yeah, so I don't know if this is I don't recognize this art from as being
this is from Call to Adventure.
Okay.
But it is just a remastered version of a Call to Adventure piece. This is a little more cleaned up.
Yeah, but just this would be that scene from Oathbringer where the Shadesmar party is trying to get through from the Oath Gate in Thalen City, but it's just a cool depiction. I really like that, and any art from like that. I think there are a few other art pieces from various artists depicting the scene, but I like them all, and so I'm glad it was included.
Yeah, this is such a good piece. I think I have a physical copy of this. I need to hang it because
I think the two sprint just look incredible in this.
Yeah. And what I love is it's also because there's the one in the books that I think I have a print of that's more.
It's a little more
like
2D.
stylized.
It's a little more sketchy. Yeah.
But I love like, we're taking kind of similar elements, obviously, because it's a similar scene, but like different angle. We're adding some more movement into it. And just that we can have those different versions and different varieties to like, it's, this is gorgeous.
Yeah. And then this is just also a great placement within the book because it's right under, if you scroll up a little bit, the section for negotiation. So showing showing perhaps a failed negotiation, but negotiation nonetheless from the books.
And for like last round of this, I picked, it's a piece from Katie Payne herself, who is a singer in art form. And I think the carapace looks so cool on this. The lattice
so
work
much.
of it. Like art form should be a aesthetically beautiful, like not in in the way that a person isn't beautiful, but just like almost mathematical beauty or mathematical but organic.
Mhm.
And I like that we have smaller pieces like this that are showing a thing, like, because this is showing what singers look like. This is what specifically an art form looks like, which we've never had depicted before, and it's just really cool.
And there's a lot of other, like there's a knight form elsewhere in the book. There is, a lot of the traditional like a war form and a work form. A lot of these are depicted in there. There's a lot of like regal forms and fused forms.
Most of the forms have at
a
least one
picture
depiction somewhere.
Yeah, either in the handbook or the world guide.
And
I do want to give honorary shout out to a series from Deanna Luna in the section talking about cultural expertises, basically depicting a stereotypical person from each culture, because it just shows the diversity of Roshar in a really cool way.
Yeah, I believe that Brotherwise posted like a compilation, because in the book it's like split up amongst several pages, but Brotherwise has like a lineup of like 20 people or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's you have a man and a woman from Alethkar, from Yakovet, from Shinovar, from Natana. Like most of the major cultural groups on Roshar are represented in there, and it's so incredibly cool. So I'll do my final round. Quick honorary mention. I don't know why I'm pointing this way, because I don't know where this is going to be on screen. Just the Rosharan system. The fact that we get to see that, I think, looks fantastic. I love it. There's nothing shocking about it. Like maybe you can. I mean,
the scar in the background, the red stars. It's the scar.
Yeah, these are the red stars. You can see them. It's just really, really cool, right? Supremely cool. I'm not going to talk about that. What I will talk about is, oh my god, this Yasna though. Brother, I am not okay about this.
Who did this piece?
This is Svetlana.
Oh, okay.
Svetlana Kostina. I'm not sure. Probably Svetlana Kostina. But yeah, she has several illustrations in this thing. She absolutely killed it in all of them. I mean, obviously, every single there's like several portraits of Yasna in this RPG. Every single one of them is incredible. This one just captures my soul and is like, I'm not gonna let you go. And I'm like, yeah, that's okay. That's fine. Shallan is also cute, but that's not what
Shallan is feeling how you were feeling about Yasna.
Shallan, yes, I am in fact Shallan, if you didn't know. One of my favorite things is just in early illustrations, but not just early, just like illustrations of like Shallan and Yasna, just Shallan being a bi disaster. I think that's incredible. I did have honorary mentions that I'm not going to show, but I will just list. All of the singer art, incredible. All of the like racial and culture art, incredible. And also this piece behind me that depicts the Three Realms. Incredible. Matt, let's go to you for...
Yeah.
Which gotta pick an Eidolon one.
Yeah, I know. Which Eidolon art do
Which
I
Eidolon?
pick is the question. There's not a lot, or not as much as I would want, but
that's fair. I know how you feel, though. I know how you feel.
Yeah. Just always want more. Okay. Let's go to page 48 in the handbook. mostly because, yeah, there he is. Yeah, so if I can give notes, which I'm in no way qualified to do, more Adolin. I think he just should be more places because I like looking at him. This one I like, for example, though, that Adolin is paired with the attribute of strength and talking about lifting capacity. Again, like, it's fun that it's like, oh yeah, I just like a lot of the intention about where the art is placed. And
does Adolin even lift, though?
Does he even lift?
Does he even lift?
I think it's neat how his clothing is sort of reminiscent of armor. I don't know if this is ever like mentioned in the books or anything, but he has like those like, I mean, it looks like fabric, but it's like reminiscent.
It looks like bulgars, doesn't it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I could see this being like something that either I don't know, maybe he designed it, or maybe it's just Alethi fashion for young officers or something. But it looks cool.
Yeah. No, it's just really fun. Like getting more art of the characters, and then I don't have much to say about this. I just had to pick an Adolin piece.
Hey, look, I know where you're coming from. Okay. And Adam, I think we close with you.
Yeah. So this is World Guide 220 and 221. So these are the masked ones, illusion fused. I think hands down the coolest design for the fused, just visually, because I think we had like one depiction of them in Oathbringer without illusions, and I think they're briefly described as like a singer with very little visible carapace or something like that. But I think the and I think actually we may have gotten some Wind and Truth mentions also of them, but I think the idea that they would be like creating these really elaborate like displays with illusion because they can do it for free is just really cool. And then the specific, like, I don't even know what this reminds me of, but it's like, I guess some like weird sea creatures or something, which is sort of crab-like, I guess, but it's just really,
I can
really cool.
kind of see there's like a little bit of like seaweed type of stuff. There's also like a headdress vibe that's going on. Petter absolutely cooked with like
and
a lot of and like if you find the devastating ones, I think they also look like incredibly cool, and that's also his design.
I was just Googling this, and Johnny at one point tweeted that masked ones were his favorite fused and shared this art because they look fabulous. So
yeah.
And
then I believe that it's mentioned in the books. It's also mentioned in the novels and mentioned in these books also that they're like patterns are constantly shifting and they're just like visually really cool.
Yeah. And I think that's where we're going to call the art. Otherwise, we will just keep doing that. And there is other stuff to discuss. There's a lot to discuss, so it's going to be another episode. But let's go through and talk about some of our favorite bits of lore that was revealed in these books.
As a bit of a teaser for next episode.
As a bit of a the thing that was going to be this episode, and then we're like, hey, it's been 2.5 hours. Maybe we need to do an episode break at some point.
Yeah.
Fancy that
talking a lot.
Yeah. Fancy that we could talk about some stuff longer than we thought we could.
We
never happened before.
I was thinking this was going to be like an hour and a half episode. And no, it's us.
We just keep getting worse and worse. That's unfortunate. Anyway,
I blame the viewers personally. They're
I also blame the viewers. Hey viewers, hey listeners. If you are listening to this episode, it is all your fault. You were enabling us to do the things that we do, and that is not healthy for any of us. There, I said it. Anyway, so favorite new piece of lore. I mean, a cop-out answer would be to say like art stuff, right? Does being able to see what all of the fused forms look like, does that count as lore? Like I feel like that should count as lore.
I feel
think
like
the
that's a
fused
cheaty
forms-
answer that's going to be disregarded.
Well,
But I think you could say like fused forms, like getting more details about the fused.
I could probably say that.
including their appearance.
I think, and I am just unprepared to answer this, so I would have to do like cheaty things. We did learn a little bit about like Fabrio construction in here, and I've always loved Fabrios, so I think I will. I'll go with Fabrio science as my answer on new lore. It's not a lot, but it's some.
They definitely rephrase some of the confusing things that were in Rhythm of War, which is nice.
And
It's true.
question, this might be my ignorance, because we all know I'm such a person who knows all the lore kept up with in Stormlight. Like the books give us the full list of what the metals do in Fabrio.
Not full.
Not full, but is some of that list new, or do we have most of that already? So
like copper, for example, is new.
Copper allows a Fabrial to conduct energy or transmit thoughts. Bronze can improve Spren's ability to detect rhythms or receive thoughts. And I just jumping off you, Evgeni, because this was one I was debating saying, and you said it. So I'll preserve my choice. Getting to see like just confirmed the Allomancy parallels, because we knew that, but like, you're kind of guessing, okay, what would some of the ones we don't know about be?
Expanding on it a little bit.
Yeah. And the ones that like it's not as obvious what the parallel would be.
Worth calling out. So copper listed as allowing a Fabrial to conduct energy or transmit thoughts. The Reachers, the Lightspren in Shadesmar, on their boats, they have these like copper lines that travel the entire ship, and they will often like be touching those lines. We've always been led to believe, and we've assumed that this is like a form of communication. This kind of plays into that, right? Kind of the idea that thoughts transmits, or copper transmits thoughts and things. So it's nice when pieces fit together neatly like that.
And that goes like the through line of like copper as like smoking, but also copper as like copper mind, Verukami, into the like it's not all the metals are clean like that, but it's, I don't know. It makes me really excited for the future eras of books. Again, like as we're going to see these magic systems in the books and in the RPG potentially, but in the books especially, like combining more and more, you start to see, okay, like if the metals and it's fun.
Matt, what's your choice?
Since I got to cheat off Evgeni's, the World Guide, just getting some of our lesser seen places, and we didn't always get necessarily like a ton of new information, but we did get a decent amount. And I'm really interested in the Erie and Rira stuff, and so I was just excited about some of the cultural and then also having it in one place is so nice, because so often with some of these cultures, we have the Copper Mind, which is a great resource, and we try to be as close to canon as we can, but
like I know I've seen some opinions floating around where people are disappointed with what we got, that they expected more. And like expectations are like fine pottery. Like the harder you grasp, then the more they're likely there to break. It's like you're gonna have expectations, and not all of them are gonna come true. I like the level that we got. It is what I was expecting. The vast majority of it was always going to be information we already knew, because this needs to function as like a resource for people who haven't necessarily read the books.
This was
Well,
never
and
going to be Brandon sits down and writes 200 pages of brand new lore, right?
We're not
Exactly.
getting the release of Brandon's internal wiki.
Yes, because Brandon didn't write this. Like the wonderful people at Brotherwise did, and then it was read and reviewed by Brandon and co. Brotherwise did come up with new things that were vetted and approved by Dragonsteel in the areas that either Brandon didn't have a lot or knew he wasn't ever going to get to.
But yeah, like I do get also the, like, if you're looking at space too, like if you're, you know, have a budget of so many words for some of these sections, you're going to prioritize the stuff that is canon, right? Because you, like, that is something that has to be true. So if a player is playing this game and wants to be over stuff, you can leave up to the imagination. But yeah, no, I appreciate like the nations and cultures section for what it does. And yeah,
for Adim, who actually read these books cover to cover and didn't just skim them.
Yeah. Hey, I read them cover to cover just a year ago.
Same. What? This is all fresher in your mind, shall we say? If you had to pick something, a shard gun is held to your head. What are you going to pick as the coolest thing you learned?
Well, I think I'm going to disregard those instructions and give two things.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, one thing, I mean, I think as a consequence of the adventure that they wrote, which does involve Ral Elarim, there's a lot of lore about Ral Elarim, and we also knew that at some point Rhythm of War was partially set in Ral Elarim, so I imagine that there was some notes that could have been used to either buff up some of the stuff that they were able to work with, or to confirm stuff that they wrote or whatever. But it's sort of a, like, probably the most important place that we haven't seen seen much of in the books. So it was cool to get a lot of varied information about Ral Elarim. Something else that I just like, I was sort of expecting that we would, have to get a lot of lore about a place that the adventure is going to be set in. What I wasn't expecting was we got a lot of like random mentions of places where singers sort of congregated, where they were unaligned with Odium after the Everstorm happened. And, I imagine that some of that is just sort of to give players fun places to have like character origins if they want to play as a singer who isn't a Lethe or isn't a listener. You could have someone who is some Azish background that is from some of these random nations that we can talk about later. But it was neat to have that kind of, like, there are singers who weren't interested in Odium, weren't interested in the coalition, and weren't listeners, which until now we had, you could speculate about, we didn't have any confirmed information about.
Yeah, like giving more options to characters who want to play singers, of like, okay, either you're a listener or you're working for Odium isn't a ton of options. Singers are people like any others. They shouldn't automatically be working for Odium. And that actually ties into the thing I'm going to pick, which was Alm, this random country bordering Shinovar, where we get a bunch of information from.
So much Alm lore.
Yeah, there's so much Alm lore that it's the thing you didn't know you wanted. Because like it's like very sparsely populated, but like very isolated. And it's apparently they, even in the past, like they would just free all of their Parshman workers and didn't treat them like slaves, which is, hey, that's nice. And so like it does become one of these hubs of like non-Odium aligned singers after the Everstorm. I'm like, because they were treated fairly well there, that like they didn't decide like, oh, we hate these people, we're going to go work for the evil god and like take back our world. I was like, that's cool. Like and it's like it was just kept a secret from the Empire of like that's what they were doing. I'm like, yeah, that's a cool and interesting part of the world. It's like, but it is this backwater that like, why would we ever go there in the books?
Yeah, maybe you would get an interlude, maybe at some point.
I mean,
you know what? I want to go on an adventure to Ulm.
The Ulm interlude. I mean, we got the Odium one that was, hey, these people name their like, what was it, like sons after stars and daughters after flowers or something like that.
Something like that.
Not Hexy, but Tubela lore.
Yeah. I think the only mention we had of Ulm previously was like, it was like,
It's
oh
a
yeah,
thing.
that's part of Azir.
It exists.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Azir that's like that, right? Like,
Yeah, and it's going to be, potentially a major setting. It could be the Alethkar of the back half, potentially. And so, it would be really neat if some of the stuff that otherwise folks were able to come up with is, I don't imagine that Ulm is going to be a major player in the back half, but, that kind of stuff being, a bit more relevant than it was in the front half would be cool.
well, and like Brandon does have a willingness, like the big example is like Shallan's bisexuality, right? Of seeing something that he didn't necessarily come up with or intend, but then getting excited about it. And then like, so I could see, some of the stuff coming out of the RPG eventually. Brandon like gets a story idea based on something. And then all of a sudden we do have an interlude or a short story or chapter. Yeah.
Which is like, because all of this like it's explicitly canonical. Like, it's all approved by Dragonsteel like as canon. Unlike Mistborn Adventure Game, where like there wasn't a mechanism in place like for extensive review at Dragonsteel. Like Brennan was very involved in like the base handbook, but after that, like they just had to go their own way. So like they came up with a lot of stuff, like some of it very interesting stuff that it just couldn't be claimed as canonical because Brennan like didn't approve everything. And Brennan didn't want to be bound by anything. But obviously like his opinion like changed over time. And so like now like he gave them like bring stuff up, like we'll like go through and make sure I approve of it. And now like he presumably will be bound by it if it comes up in future books. But given the ending of Wind and Truth,
he's not that. Yeah, the way the world
matter
stays
as much,
and which is also. And the other thing about Brandon is he doesn't always feel bound by his own canon.
That's true.
So, like, I'm sure he will make best efforts to like stick with this, but
transitioning like more general, like. What are you excited about just in general for the system? Like do you have a character you're really interested in playing? Like, is there something you're interested in exploring?
I don't have a tabletop group. Like I don't have a table. I don't have a gaming group. So chances are I'm not going to end up playing this, or at least not anytime soon. So I am in the population that's like reading these things for the occasional snippet of interesting lore that I can catch, which I don't think I'm in the minority in this. I think a lot of Cosmere fans are going to be doing. I mean, obviously, there's going to be a lot of people that are just playing this game as a game because it's a game and that's what that's the intent. But Cosmere fandom is large enough that there will be a substantial population that just read this for the little bits and bobs here and there, like for the Ulm lore and the Elsgate lore and stuff like that, right? So I'm mostly in there. What I'm excited most about, art. I am really excited to be able to visualize a lot of the things that were either not described previously, like art form. We have no description of art form.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have an image of art form, and I think it looks amazing, right? So
we have at least 1,000 words about art form,
right? Yeah. So either that, or stuff that has been described but not like terribly well or terribly consistently, and now someone like an artist somewhere is in charge of making sense of Brandon's nonsensical descriptions and making them work in like visually. I don't dislike Stonewalkers in any capacity. Like I think it's great that we have that story. I am just, when I think about what is exciting to me in the Cosmere RPG, the canonical campaigns are not the first thing that come to mind. It is the kind of more low-key passive world building, the Alm lore and the listener culture stuff and things like that. So that's the cool thing.
I'd like to jump in, and because I'm in the same boat as Argent.
Go ahead.
I'll try and give another cop-out answer, but I'll try and make a better cop-out answer than Argent's.
Well, that's not difficult, is it?
I'm looking forward to seeing other people do stuff with this, like actually, role play in the system. I know that Jaffu, another Shardcaster, has a campaign spinning up right now. I believe they've been posting, and I think his character is like a archaeologist.
Vaden archaeologist, yes.
Yeah, which is a really, really fun, as someone who knows a lot about, Joff is, I think was he one of the world singers for this book? So, he's very knowledgeable about Roshar. So making a Roshar an archaeologist is a very fun character for that. And, seeing that kind of thing where, we're probably never going to see a Vaden archaeologist in the books, but being able to see people, try and go through, what would that character be up to in Roshar? It'd be fun to see.
Yeah, actual plays are like definitely something I'm interested in. As someone who actual plays are like the primary form of media I consume at this point in my life, I watch a lot of D&D, guys. I am interested to see like what the landscape of Cosmere RPG is out there. It's like you said, Shards of Opportunity. Shards of Opportunity is like the group organization that like Joff is in one of the campaigns for. Like they're doing one for I think it's called the Cannon Walkers that are doing the Stonewalkers campaign, and then the Loose Cannons where Joff is a player. Top-notch naming, guys. Good job.
I love it. Yeah.
Johnny Brotherwise himself just announced that there's like a one-shot coming out in the future with Jasper Cartwright. That's really exciting. One of the players is Abu Bakr Salim, who is he's in House of the Dragon in a small role. So it's like big name. He's been on Critical Role a whole bunch in a couple different things. It's that's just cool.
12-Sided Studios is doing the
12-Sided Studios. Yes.
Yeah.
At some point, they're going to get Henry Cavill on something.
100%.
That'd be cool.
Someday.
And it's like also scoping out the competition for when we eventually do it. Just say now we're not going to have nearly as high production quality. We're going to have good production quality.
Yeah.
But we're amateurs doing this as volunteers.
Yeah, we're not
in the midst of like 17 other things that we do.
Yeah. The unique or exemplary part of our actual play, I feel like, is that it's being played by super fans. We're not like professional actors or, crazy long-time gamers necessarily. But we're super fans with opinions.
Yeah. Matt, what are you excited for? Other than the obvious where like you are a writer for Mistborn stuff.
Yeah, the Mistborn stuff is exciting. For these books, I'm, as someone who does play a decent amount of tabletop regularly and has the benefit of a group who is largely Cosmere fans, but is in the middle. I'm not sure when I'm going to be able to play this, like, to be honest. Even just for fun. But I think to take it more the player route, I really like a lot of what's going on with the leader path. So I think that would be a fun one of the heroic paths to explore. I like that one has like a decent balance of like combat out of combat applications. And then out of the Radiant paths, I was looking at them. I think the Lightweaver would be the most fun. I like having like Illumination and Transformation. I think those are two of the surge. If I just looked at individual surges, which ones I'd most like to play, it would be those two. Yeah,
it's finding opportunities to play when you're already in multiple campaigns. It's like, I'm the heart is willing, the calendar is not.
And we also want to be on Shardcast to do.
Yes. Yeah. And like going back to recording for Diceborn, like it's a lot. You want a personal life as well. Let's be real. If I do play this game, it's probably going to be for a Diceborn campaign at some point. So spoilers for that when and if it ever happens. I'm really interested in playing a singer character, like who awoke as part of the Everstorm. Because it's not really a character type we get a lot of. Like we get like Kaladin's crew in Oathbringer.
Yeah.
But every other singer character is either a listener or a fuse, who have their own perspectives on things. And just exploring the eldritch horror it is to wake up and be yourself for the first time in your life. And how terrifying that an experience that must be. Not like understanding what is going on and also being capable of that understanding for the first time. It's like, that's interesting.
I thought it was good that the book, I think both the Handbook and the World Guide, did dedicate a good amount of page or word count to like what the like singer, the experience of a singer would be before being awoken, and then some of it was rehashing stuff that we learned in Oathbringer and Rhythm of War or something, but then also the varied reactions of singers who were awoken to being awoken.
Yeah, and in terms of paths, I want to be an enlightened truth watcher in my day-to-day life. So it's like, of course, I'm going to play that in the game at some point. I'm like, it's just cool. Like, hey.
Just something that I sort of felt, and I know that other people felt, is that there was like a little bit of, there's some stuff where like, I think there's some people who are very mechanics focused, who are sort of maybe reading a bit into certain like very small passages that I don't think
this fandom.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not that I haven't been guilty of that in the past, but I think that there was sort of a occasionally a sort of misuse of sort of a very authoritative or like God voice in some sections that like I think cutting down on that can just be good for letting people role play how they want when there's like when you're talking about like, events in the distant past or something that like I think that there was one thing about sort of how the initial conflicts between humans and fused were sort of characterized in the World book was sort of more authoritative than it ended up being in Wind and Truth. And so some of the stuff like that I thought was I think it leads to some confusion where there doesn't have to be confusion, but I think overall, for all the information that they had to work with, and ultimately the book can only be so long, and they can only have so many art pieces and everything. I think that the stuff that they chose to include, the manner in which they chose to include it, was all very, very well directed, very well put together.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where like you have, a dozen or so writers, working on, the handbook and especially the world guide. There is going to be some like just a little bit of friction between like the different passages and the different chapters, and like how much scrutiny each individual word and the way each individual sentence is phrased. Because like Karen has to review essentially all of this on her own, right? And there's some things that like she will float up to the Brandon level, but a lot of the stuff is on Karen, right? And so the things that she's going to be paying attention to are going to be the big things, right? You want to make sure that you are saying Stormlight when you mean Stormlight and not, Void Light, or not, any investiture or stuff like that. You want to make sure that all the sprenns are correct, and you want to make sure that all the, whatever. And so there will be little things that are virtually impossible to catch, and that are, one of the things that people sometimes forget is that the books, like the novels themselves, are not always as authoritative as we like them to be, right? There are passages in Words of Radiance and Oathbringer that now, with the Wind and Truth like contextual information that we have, don't make as much sense, or like we have to recontextualize, like, oh, okay, this says this thing, but it actually means this other thing, right? So having the RPG be not 100% dictionary lawyer proof canon is okay, right? It would be ideal if it was, but realistically speaking, we still have to use our brains a little bit, and we still have to give them a little bit of leeway of, well, if Brandon is not 100%, clear, then it is okay for the RPG to be not 100% clear.
Or just like, if phrasing implies something that like we know explicitly like is meant to be ambiguous. Like there's been extensive conversation on the Discord about the God Beyond and how the passage in the World Guide, I believe, like does tend more authoritative of like, this is a thing. Whereas Brennan has always been more like, I'm leaving that up for the viewers to decide. Like the World Guide is not contradicting that. Like,
yeah, but like, yeah, the God Beyond is meant to be like Brandon's area where like you could be a real atheist, right? He's not confirming the existence.
There will never be an answer. The RPG is not giving us that answer, in spite of Brandon's wishes. It is just...
The RPG will canonize all. It won't canonize the God Beyond.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so like, yes, they're using very declarative statements there, but like you still have to view it in context of not only the whole of like the Cosmere RPG, but the whole of the Cosmere itself and Brandon's Words of Brandon, of like, they all feed into one another.
This character is from Roshar.
Menace. Tien.
Tom.
Raise.
Void in drag on a horse. It's time for Who's That Cosmere Character? Caw.
Welcome to Who's That Cosmere Character, the game show where you send 5 clues and a character they correspond to WTCC at 17shard.com. I read each clue aloud, and after each clue, they have a chance to guess who's that Cosmere character. So this first one is from Wade Stockard. Clue number 1. This character has died.
Kelsier.
It is not Kelsier.
Damn it.
Died, D-I-E-D.
Died, D-I-E-D. Correct.
Not D-Y-E-D or something
Correct.
like that.
It's too early in the question to be looking for shenanigans.
It's never too early to look for shenanigans.
I'm gonna say, did they die? It's had a fair amount of character. Oh, I'm gonna say, what is it? Claude, Jules, lifeless.
It is not Claude. It is also not Arceal. I'll give you that much.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Is it Teft?
It is not Teft.
Too soon.
Clue number 2. This character has met Laras.
Rashek.
It is not Rashek.
Clue 1 said has died, right?
Correct. Has
Hoyt.
died. Okay, it's not Hoyd. I also would not say he has died.
I would count his vaporization at the end of Wind and Truth as death.
A cell of him survived, though.
I would count that as death and reconstitution, not surviving vaporization.
Yeah. I'm gonna say ambition /
That's
is it Yuli Da? Is
Yuli Da.
ambition? Yuli Da.
correct. That is an excellent guess. That is incorrect.
Yeah.
Particularly given this next question. Next clue. This character is highly invested.
He is highly invested. Are you supposed to read into that?
Or was highly invested.
All times are one in the spiritual realm.
I will go with Tanavast / the Stormfather because I think that they count as the same person. In this
I'm
context.
rejecting that. They are two separate characters. You have to pick one.
Okay. Tanavast.
It is not Tanavast.
Ati.
It is not Ati.
I'm gonna say Adenalcium.
It is Adenalcium. So clue number 4 is this character's corpse is important, which I will accept in the form of the shards.
That's acceptable, yeah.
I did look askance at this clue, but I'm like, I think I can vie with it. The final clue number 5 is this character is not from Scadrian.
That's
we know that
extremely accurate, yes.
Yeah.
This next one comes to you from our Who's That Cosmere Character priority queue, which you can send in as a herald on our Patreon. Support us at patreon.com/17th shard. Our lowest tier is only $1, where you get access to outtakes and voting in our monthly art polls. Our heralds are our highest tier for $10 a month, and they can send in things to the priority queue, which we get to marginally faster.
It is significant. So at times, we have been more than a year ahead on the priority queue than on the regular one.
So this one is from Pseudo.
Pseudo, whom we have met in the flesh at Nexus.
And I will be a kind and benevolent game show master and tell you this without you having to ask. It is from March 2025.
Okay.
Clue number 1. This character appears in 5 Stormlight books.
Oh, Christ. Syl.
It is not Syl.
Are we saying exactly 5 or at least 5?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I'm
going to say I don't want to check this, so it's going to be at least 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not very confident on the novellas.
Given the way this is phrased, I would assume it is exactly 5.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing to assume.
Now, the easy assumption would be the 5 mainline Stormlight books, but that doesn't have to be the case, does it?
Is it a trick?
Because how many novellas even are there? I'm trying to think.
Two.
There are two.
Egg Dancer
Right.
and Dawn's Hard.
Dawn Shard, yeah. I'm gonna say, because I love him, Adolin. He's not in either of the novellas, I don't think, and he is in the 5 books.
It is not Adolin.
I'll guess pattern.
It is not Pattern. Clue number 2. This character was present for an iconic lesson.
That's bait. I will not take this bait.
Are you sure?
I'm sure that I will not take this bait. Instead, I will guess Risen.
It is not Risen.
It is present in an iconic lesson. Is it Testament?
It is not Testament.
Okay.
I was wondering, I was trying to think, I wanted to ask the wording of the first clue, because Testament, I was like, does Testament show up in 5? But she's there in the background.
I mean, she's always there, right?
Yeah.
The word choice is appears.
Appears. But maybe she does appear, because does Shallan summon her? Anyway, it's not Testament.
It's not Testament.
Can we say Hoyd?
It is not Hoyd.
He teaches some lessons.
Clue number 3. This character has an odd interaction with high storms.
Weird.
This character is weird.
Is it Maya?
It is not Maya.
I mean, I don't know how you would
I thought that
classify odd.
Yeah. My thought process was she appears in 5 books because she's summoned 5 times.
Yeah.
She's
No,
summoned
that's
in
fair.
5
Yeah.
books. So like,
Yeah. No, I think that would count.
Mhm.
Kaladin?
It is not Kaladin.
He certainly has an odd interaction. I'm going to go with Taravangian.
It is not Taravangian. Clue number 4. This character is not stupid, but merely contemplative.
okay, now the game has recognized that quote.
One of you should.
Oh, is it Relaine?
It is not Relaine.
Huyo?
It is not Huyo.
5 books, part of an important lesson, iconic lesson. Sorry, what was the third one? Weird interaction with high storms.
Has an odd interaction with high storms.
Okay. And then what was the 4th, or have we not gotten that yet?
The 4th one is this character is not stupid, but merely contemplative.
Did someone say that about Renarin? Is it Renarin?
Is that your guess?
Yeah, I'll do Renarin.
It is not Renarin.
Yeah.
Clue number 5. This character is Shin.
Tivnk.
Correct.
The grass.
It's the grass. When you guessed Risen, I'm like, poker face. Poker.
So what is the odd interaction? Oh, the odd interaction
It's no interaction.
Okay.
It doesn't interact with the high storm.
I see.
Oh my gosh.
For a Rosharan, that is an odd interaction.
It is. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a totally
And then-
fair, very
and then
tricky,
it-
but totally
yep.
fair hint.
And then it is the lesson.
Yeah.
It is the lesson.
Okay. That's a good one.
So thank you all for listening. You can find us all at 17shard.com for all the news, discussion, theories, and fun that you could ever want. We have a huge Discord server at discord.gg/17shard. Come join us there. You can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/17shard. And if you want, you can leave a super thanks below on YouTube. Of course, you can like, comment, and subscribe. We will see you all next time. Bye.
Ta-ta.